Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. We are a little bit late. We had to make some efforts to come from lunch, but now I give the floor to Caroline Jackman. She's going to present the International Toolkit.
Thank you, Christina, and thank you everyone for having me this afternoon. So I presented the International Toolkit at our previous partner meeting in Venice. So apologies if I'm repeating myself to a few of you, but I know some of you weren't there. So I'm going to take you behind the rationale of why we have a toolkit. And it is basically to help people to be ready for overseas work. In the UK, we are going through a lot of challenges post-Brexit, but this was very much a development beyond our toolkit that we delivered in 2019, so before Brexit actually happened. So this new rendition is just full of updates, but in a lot more depth. But essentially, how can we help our craft community? So this particular toolkit, though it's spoken from a UK perspective, it's a lot of information in here is relevant to any craft maker trying to sell their work overseas. This is what it looks like when you visit the Crafts Council website. We have 2 videos and 3 downloadable resources. To highlight what is actually in the toolkit, there is the link in this presentation. This presentation will be shared with you afterwards, but the guidebook itself has 23 sections, so there's a lot of content. There are case studies because it's better to hear from real life makers on temporary import licenses, showcasing in the EU member state, exhibiting at an overseas trade fair, teaching and working overseas, as well as importing to a retail fair in the UK. So that was very much relevant for companies looking to work in the UK with their business. Plus, there is an additional section, which is our checklists and templates. So it literally takes you through a step-by-step guide of what to do each month should you be taking your work overseas. Also a checklist to consider of if you are sending your work overseas. Plus the SWOT analysis. For those unfamiliar with that term, that means strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, to identify those within your own business structure, and templates so that you can devise your own commercial invoice and packing list. Both are essential for sending your work overseas. Inside the toolkit, this highlights the particular sections. As I said, there are 23 of them. And a lot of these can be adapted for your own craft businesses in your own respective countries. We also have a recorded interview with Carolyn Tripp. She talks about how she has used the toolkit so far. So this was launched in April. She shows how she has used it for her business, in particular with online selling, and how she's going to take the next step of the toolkit to look at temporary import licensing. These are some screen cap grabs of what the toolkit looks like inside. So this particular section is around an export strategy, and sometimes the word strategy is a bit of an alien word, and it's essentially to create a plan. So you have a real idea of what you're trying to achieve for your business and setting out a plan to achieve that and make sure it's possible, because exporting overseas, no matter what your business is, it does take a lot of investment, both in your time, in your knowledge, as well as money. We also have a whole section dedicated to understanding the different types of markets available for you. And no matter what stage you are of your business. So if you were looking into creative development, you may not have considered overseas residencies, which could lead to potential selling opportunities. So it outlines the pros and cons of each of those particular marketplaces and how you can identify which one is the most relevant for you at this point in time, as well as future opportunities. We also have highlighted the cultural references you need to consider with each of the overseas trade markets. For example, if you are trying to trade in China, then they might have different ways of doing business to whether you're trying to trade in the USA. So understanding those cultural references, how they conduct business, what your work means to them culturally as well, are all of these things that you can implement into creating an export strategy. We have a whole dedicated section to online selling. Most of us since the pandemic have really embraced this opportunity to sell online, but you don't want to get caught out. From being a buyer yourselves of buying online, there are lots of things that maybe you have not considered in your own buying experience, such as a refund policy or terms and conditions, or how long it takes to actually package and send the work that you're producing to the next person. When we are dealing with online marketplaces, we're used to this access 24 hours a day and almost getting our package by 72 hours maximum later. That doesn't work within craft businesses. Sometimes craft businesses have to make to order. So you need to make your customers aware of your policies and procedures when it comes to delivering your goods to the next person. Also, things important to consider when you are working between yourself and directly to a customer, that customer also needs to have an identification number, which in the UK is called an EORI number. So those are all of the details that are expressed within this particular section. We also have a section dedicated to packaging your work, where we demonstrate to people how your brand can be incorporated into your packaging strands, as well as that kind of universal understanding of how to protect your work. In particular, if you're dealing with companies that are not fine art shippers, they do not understand how to handle or manage your items of work, you can protect it in the best possible way so that you ensure that it reaches its final destination without being damaged. And finally, in this particular section I'm highlighting in this presentation, we have a whole glossary of terms. With shipping and selling overseas, a lot of this phrases and words are devised by big corporations and government policies. So a lot of it is alien to us. So we've created a glossary of terms so you can really understand the different type of languages that are used when it comes to trading overseas. This is just to show you what one of our case studies looks like. So this particular case study is talking about temporary import licenses. So for UK makers now, when they are taking their work into the EU member states, they have to consider VAT implications. However, if they pay for a temporary import license, they can waiver that VAT cost. It's the various things that you need to consider, whether you are based in the EU, shipping to the USA or to other global markets, not just necessarily within your own states or within the EU. Just also to highlight in our checklists and templates, this is the sort of very simple commercial invoice and packaging list so that you can understand what is involved when it comes to all of the information you need to put together for sending your work overseas. So as I said, quite a lot of this information you can adapt for your own makers within your own respective countries. This is the checklist. To say, it literally just takes you point by point. For if you're taking your work to a trade fair, we've done it by month, so things to consider. And most importantly, and this is where we have highlighted it within the Crafting Europe project, the Go and See voucher scheme, where we are encouraging people to go and see a trade fair before they actually invest a lot of time and money to sell at that trade fair. So those case studies, there will be 16 in total from 8 different countries. That will be shared widely so that people can really understand what is involved with those particular trade fairs and what it meant for those respective makers on their journeys of exploration to see whether that market was right for them. Okay, just to highlight something a little bit more about how we can adapt this toolkit for our own respective businesses. This particular slide or image is in relation to temporary import, and this is the reference to the UK. And I was using this information to share with our Go and Sell Crafting Europe voucher winners, where they're taking their work to Maison et Objet in September, and what our UK makers need to really consider when it comes to temporary import. And that might be a more cost-effective way of getting their goods to Maison et Objet rather than paying VAT on each of the items that they're taking into France. These are the sorts of informations that I found through Georgia as well as the Ukraine. So what can we do within our own respective countries to adapt this particular toolkit to support our makers? And I would really like us to consider this as a group, as Crafting Europe group, and hopefully the World Crafts Council Europe, to think about how you can continue your journey in supporting your makers. So thinking about the actions of what you could do, is there scope for you to be able to translate elements of that toolkit for your makers? Research into your respective countries' export policies and procedures, obviously supporting your makers through this translation and this research, and also using the Go and See and the Go and Sell Crafting Europe voucher schemes as a starting point. And the one final thing is if we could define a time frame to enable us to do that. So this is something that I would like us as a group to consider. Questions? Silence in the room's fine. I don't know if there's anyone online asking questions as well.
You guys. Hello. First
Hello,
of all, thank you and congratulations for this work. This is big effort. No? I just wanted something that rose when I was listening. Did you had to go, let's say, around this, like the VAT issue? Did you work together with other entities to, let's say, change policies, or did you had this influence? Did this happen, or you just collected the information and you work it yourself, ideas and the toolkit to work it out? Did you had this impact? Did you try to discuss, let's say, changes in the existing policies to make it easier, of course, for the makers and the craftspeople?
Within the UK, Brexit is still a relatively new thing, and it's generally sort of been delivered. The new policies and procedures have been delivered based on bigger companies and not our small micro business and SMEs. Our government has realised that micro businesses in particular have been seriously affected by the changes, in particular around VAT. There is a review of the agreement we have with the EU in 2026. And I know the British Chamber of Commerce and Department for International Trade are trying to bring that review forward to try and improve things. What we can do within the Crafts Council UK is gather evidence of what are the challenges that our UK-based businesses are facing, and in particular with Northern Ireland and the Northern Ireland Protocol, and what are the knock-on effects, because also there is a supply chain issue with regards to import of materials or statutory procedures in regards to hallmarking and the value of jewellery, for example. So that data is what we can go back to our government advisors, our policy influencers, and say, this is the situation for our country, for our makers within our country, and hopefully improve that situation. And then just hope that some improvements can be made. As regards to the interim, we are just trying to, through the toolkit, support people in being able to kickstart their business back into Europe, as well as consider other markets further afield, and also just make them reevaluate their business strategy and their business plan. And we can do that through our advice sessions, signing them up to various information that they can access. So there is a new Department for International Trade Academy that I know that some of our craft businesses have already joined and found that really useful. And it's meant that they can retrade again with confidence back in the EU. In the research that I do in any, I suppose, overseas trips. So I was at Milano for the Salon de Mobile, and speaking to some Italian companies and say, who I knew supported UK companies, and they say, actually, though they've lost a couple of trade, it's still working for them. So it's not lost. I think it's just a lot of problem solving, and all we can do at this stage is the support and give them as much information and support as possible.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for this enriching presentation. Let me ask you two things that I was curious about. Probably, I apologize in advance. I may have lost the very first beginning of your presentation, but when you talk about micro firms or micro businesses, you know, what do you have in mind in a sense that these tools, you know, in your experience, do fit, you know, which size of firms, you know, and when do they kind of lose momentum and, you know, in the dimensional terms, and when do they fit perfectly? Just, you know, a rough. And the other question is, did you test these tools on a large scale so far, or are you scaling up right now, or and what is the lesson learned from this scaling up? You know, how does it work?
Thank you for those questions. In answer to the first question, micro business we classify as under 5 employees. However, there is a lot of information within this toolkit that can support more larger companies as well, because it sticks to that kind of relevance of making sure that the information that we provide is an overall picture of what you need to consider your market position, the export strategy, and as well as the documents that you need. So it would support bigger companies. And I think where you're in a bigger company, where it's less relevant is where you can potentially have an office in the EU and be based there and agree trade between both countries. So we're very much focusing on those micro businesses. As regards to the scale of this, at the moment, we have disseminated this toolkit through our Craft UK networks, as well as hosting workshops for their respective members. And we know that over 100 have already been a part of that workshop. And I did research into those particular businesses that were coming on board, and we had about 60% have traded overseas before, but have lost confidence. So they're using this toolkit to reignite their knowledge, and also they saw the beneficial effects in COVID, that a lot of them could try and take control of their business when selling overseas. So it had two effects from that. And the 40% are new to exporting. So they can take the toolkit as a step-by-step guide. We are inviting all of those that participated in that workshop to come to us in 3 months' time to see what is the impact so far. But longitudinally, we hope to remain in contact with them and see what is the longer term impact, because generally it takes about 3 years to have a proper basis with exporting. So yes, our next step is to look for further case studies and further trade opportunities so that we can constantly break down those barriers through real life case studies. Is there any questions online at all?
I was waiting for Paloma to ask you.
Hi. Hi. Oh, sorry. I'm just need to plug in. Hi. Hello. Hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay. I think
Okay.
it's not possible.
Yes, I'm talking. I don't know.
She's asking, how can a young person join the Crafting Europe program in UK?
They're in a trouble. The Crafting Europe project will come to a close this year. However, you can be a part of Crafts Council UK, and the easiest way is to get in contact with us via our website, or you can contact myself. I don't have a screen to type in my email address. But yes, we have a contact on the Crafts Council website to get in contact, and the support that you can gain through us is through our online directory, through business booster sessions, one-to-one advice, our resources online, like the toolkit, as well as events and training that we also host. So yes, get in contact and I can help you. Anything else? I think that's it. Cool. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. New challenges for a new craft business international now. And now I will give the floor to João Amaral from SEART. He's going to present us the SEART Ed Labs. We have a service in SEART that is meant to be a support for crafts business, small business. I'm not going to explain. João has it all ready, okay?
Well, I thought I was having easy job, but that it's not possible. Oh, sorry. I've already started mixing everything. So I'm sorry. I'm a little bit tired and my English is not very good. It was a wonderful week talking, but so I will be reading, okay? I'm here today, as Christina told you, to talk about this tool that we have, CRT Labs. It's a support, innovation and development service for in CRT. As we know, as you know, CRT is it's the professional training center for crafts and heritage in Portugal. We teach and train, but also learn. So as a result of the experience acquired since 2007, with the support given to several entrepreneurs in the field of crafts, CRT has been improving the tools of Labs. What started out as a simple service for for providing information on the main trends in fashion, design, and markets for the Portuguese craft sector is now a more complete tool. Over these 15 years, we have built a service that crosses all the activities that CRT develops, being available to the entire craft sector. It was the path that we found to answer outside the training structure, the needs of the craft sector in a more flexible and targeted way. So Labs is a service that literally opens our doors to everyone, sharing very important tools for craft people. Starting with the more common range of actuation that is more commonly found in the market. We have LOC, Laboratório de Orientação Criativa, the Portuguese name, but it's the Creative Guidance Lab. It's like crafting business that gives support for development of business, training of business skills, mentoring guidelines, providing relevant information about laws, okay, marketing, design, fashion, marketing trends. This tool works in full articulation with all the other tools in CRT, and it's also responsible for holding talks, mostly online right now, and we found out that it's a very good solution. Lectures, exhibitions on the handicrafts and heritage. This is a tool that in CRT we usually say is like a old-fashioned way roadmap in paper. Do you still remember those? Not a GPS, okay? Where we try to present several possible routes to reach different solutions. We point out positive and negative aspects of each solution that we present, but in the end, it's the entrepreneur that has to choose which path shall he follow, okay? We used to have this tool open all year. With this new revamped solution, there will be open calls twice a year, we hope, so that we can work more efficiently, okay, to everybody. So ATU is the workshop for technical support. It is a completely different tool from everything available in the market. With this tool, CRT facilitates access to technical clarifications, contacts and suggestions for solving technical and technological problems as well as guidance and mentoring in craft production. Sometimes directly in the craftsperson workshop, okay? This support is mainly given by our trainers who have considerably long years of experience. And it's made on a basis one-to-one. So it's like mentoring on crafting business, but for technical issues on the workshop. Usina is the third tool that we have. It literally gives access to all CART workshops and tools, and we have a considerable good range of things you can use, okay? They go from the wood lab to the carpenter's benches to potter's wheels, passing through different kinds of looms, the photo studio, the pottery, the engraving and the milling machine. So it's like a giant, oh, sorry. It's like a giant fab lab of crafts technology. And the last big tool that we have on this service is Radar. This is a tool that works like, it works in two ways. First, as a kind of a scanner, always looking for over the craft sector, searching for things, new or old, okay? The idea is to bring fresh visions to the Portuguese crafts. The second way as this tool works is like a showcase in which we regularly provide relevant information for the craftspersons about design, marketing, technologies, new technologies or old technologies, okay? Sustainability, showing new values, showing new projects on the terrain. So, as you can see, this is a service with a wide range of tools available for craftspeople and every entrepreneur or maker in the craft sector, and it's a service that works. We have already been used by a few large dozens of craft people. Some of these artisans are with us since day one, like Avdoda. Others just recently discovered us, like Barro Design. There are those who are calmly building their path and they are not well known in the market. Others were already famous when they started to use our services. Whether they are in before the starting of the business, like Carissa, or already established projects on the field, CART is here to support the craft business within what are our skills, okay? So do not expect things like areas where we do not work. And we always, we are always with open doors. If we don't have an expertise on that field, we will surely find someone who can help you. So if you have any problem, do not hesitate to find us and to ask us your or to tell us your problems. We will try to find a solution. So try not to take so long. So if there is any question. sure. Yes, usually is my function, so. I'm Constanza in Portugal, so.
Thank you so much for this. I only knew a few of these. I think
Yeah.
you mentioned those in our sessions. Or at
Not
least
completely.
some
Yeah.
of them, yes. Considering that I'm quite far from
Mhm.
Coimbra, which
Yeah.
is where you have those labs, how would I have access to those if I wanted to do something or use your services? Would I have to go physically then, like stay there for a while? Or is there a way of you taking those same services to other parts of the country who have makers who also need your support and help
Well,
services?
we, as a training center, we work all over the country. So we move the workshops all over the country. But this service is not very easy to move, fortunately. And you mentioned it, COVID brought us the use of new technologies. And nowadays you can send us, for instance, your play, and we can try it on our workshops and fire it at the temperature that your kilns can't work, and to see if the reaction that you want can be obtained. So, and we can share it by Zoom, and you have a virtual use of our workshops. You can do it with ceramics, textiles, wood. So some of these services are easily to do at a distance. So others, we are slowly building this tool because, as you mentioned, we are in Coimbra, and unfortunately, not every craft person is in Coimbra. So, and you have to travel. So we are already thinking about other solutions, but those will take time and other people will have decisions on that.
Maybe also work on doing some partnerships with people who have workshop studios. Like I'm thinking, I'm saying that could I bring like the technicians to run a workshop from time to time in my studio and run it as having you run those as a SEART mentoring service, something like that. So we provide the space, you bring the knowledge.
That's what we do when we do training. So it's a possible solution. As I said, this is a service that we have for a few years now. We are trying different methodologies to apply it. We haven't covered all the possible solutions, so we need those challenges to get the service done for you. No more questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
So, as João said, we are building up this service now in SEAT, we have been experimenting for some years. As you know, we are a vocational training center, so our main scope is training. But from some while ago, and not quite far ago, we felt the need to do more than training. Training is one thing, and developing competences in the artisans in a more face-to-face and individual answer is very important. So we have been building up this service step by step, and I must recognize that the crafting business and the atelier was a very good experience for us, and experimenting structure models gave us a boost for making the services more efficient. We were struggling with efficiency for delivering this mentoring and consulting to artisans, and the project was a real boost for us to make us more efficient and more straight to the point. So this rebuilding of the service that João presented is somehow one of the results also from the Crafting Europe project. So, and we have done the Q&A, and we are early. And I don't know if someone wants to add any more to this international workshop. Any experience? We still have a few minutes. Otherwise, yes, Constanza.
Thank you so much, Christina and Searte, for hosting this wonderful seminar, and thank for those people that are following us online. I think that I can speak for many of us that are here, telling that occasions like these are very important for the craft sector and for each one of us. In order to exchange between us experiences and try and be more open in thinking the future of the activity of our own organization and also businesses and enterprises. I hope that this experience will be not the only one and not stay alone. And I just want to remind everybody that Crafting Europe website will continue to exist also after the project that it will end in November. And so it's a beautiful folder full of information and spaces for the makers from all over Europe. Wonderful experiences. So I just invite everybody to check it and contact between each other also for all of the craftspeople that are there, and to learn, because there are so many reports in it, so many opinions, so many experiences, and more will come, because we are going to publish a final report open to everybody, both online and on paper. So those experiences could be the starting point for other projects or inspire other people. So thank you to all the partners and to all craftspeople that follow these kind of projects and put all their efforts on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Constanza. So let's keep the dialogue, and let's keep this building up of a community. We will have projects to help us, but also we already have some platforms where we can exchange our experience and express our needs in order to build up new projects and build up a strong network for crafts. So thank you very much to all. Thank you for those online, and see you next time.